welcome back to the Sandusky Flashlight. The Sandusky City Council meeting last night was a big deal for more reasons than just the Hope Thrift Incident. Sandusky is currently being railroaded into becoming a smart city. Others have likened the change to be similar to the World Economic Forum's 15-minute city initiative, which involves implementing greater surveillance on citizens and limiting their movements. Sandusky officials are being bullied into these changes by the Michigan Department of Transportation, who drafted up plans for M46 at the corner of Sandusky Road that many local residents feel will cause undue strain on the local economy, making it difficult for agricultural vehicles and machinery to navigate the area. The plans for M46 were drafted after just 3 short meetings without the public present. There was one public meeting in Sandusky to discuss the changes, but very few people attended, as the degree to which the project affects local businesses was not fully understood by the public. Last night, some residents did speak out on the changes. Let's take a listen to their comments.
Could offset on some times there. So I'm just concerned about the parking spots, our employees, and with the winter coming in, and there's already times where we do struggle from time to time, and we could consider relocating some of our vans. If we get new vans, they sit there for a couple of days till we have them, and then they go from there. So there is some thoughts on that front, as far as if we have some stuff that are there every night, maybe we could adjust that. But again, 98% of it is our just daily employees. So that's what I want to say.
Thank you.
Parking that was supposed to start up, that I had heard rumor was going to start September 1st. They're definitely, I know they say that we're going to mainly be offsetted. I plan on being open by 11 every day of the week, because I feel like it's a necessity to be open in order to succeed. So I can't shut down during certain hours for other companies. So I need some sort of, if we don't find some parking for us to bring clientele in, how can we even support the city? I guess is my biggest concern. So I really hope that you guys consider making sure that at least that 2-hour parking is put in place. I'm also concerned about that alleyway back there. There's Sheldon trucks parked there most days where we can't get through. So it becomes an issue all the way around. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I just want to comment on I'm not going to do my whole full comment, but commenting Ms. Diane Ferguson, and I just, as far as the parking goes, I'm a little confused. Why are people in here commenting on the parking when the blueprints for the downtown structure's already been done? And if you'd like to see them, Dave Faber has them in his back office. Okay. I saw him last week.
Anyone else?
Can you share it? It's the whole. You're going to be loose. No parking.
I'm Pam Wadsworth, Tri-County Equipment. I was also not really going to speak, but the reason I'm here today is because of the 2-hour time limit that they were proposing. That's why everyone's here. This is going to be devastating to our downtown businesses who've already survived COVID, and here we are. I have a concern. How am I going to get a combine through town? Where am I going to go? What's the detour? Beat trucks, sprayers, nutrient, all of the ag companies. How are we going to get around town? And honestly, I think the parking should have been figured out way before September 1st. You guys should have had a plan for that. And I honestly haven't seen the plans laid out. I've heard all about these bump outs. that's not gonna be good for the farm community, which you have 2 of them west of town. So, please take that into consideration, parking. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm gonna talk later. I didn't plan on talking during this time, but the reason why MDOT's coming in here is because we had 2 accidents, right? That's what you told me when I was in your office, Mr. Favorite. And one of those wasn't a traffic accident. The lady walked in. I think that the council or the city should have been fighting more with MDOT, saying it wasn't the 2 accidents that they're so calling, saying the reason why they gotta do this is not our fault. A lot more should have been fighting for we the people of here of Sandusky.
I will continue to follow the Smart Cities initiative as it develops, as I don't think major decisions about how our cities function should be made in Lansing. After that, the focus of the meeting was entirely on the incident at Hope Thrift. I was honestly surprised by how few people actually spoke. It remains unclear if Brett Lester will get to keep his job, although his plans for becoming sheriff are decimated at this point.
All right, time to change subjects. Who wants to start the
Different
discussion?
subject, couple. Okay. My name is Carl Wolfick, and I live at 117 North Moore Street. And
Can I cut you off just for a second?
Yep,
You applied to be on the agenda,
correct.
and we already had the agendas done. I
Okay.
apologize.
No, that's fine.
And you will be on the agenda next week.
Okay, that's
But I'm
fine.
glad you're the first one talking, because
Well,
I like you to.
I'm only here to ask questions, so maybe
Yeah.
this will help us on the next agenda.
Wonderful.
So first and foremost, my understanding, we had an AFC home in our community. It was on the open market for 2 years without a buyer. After 1 year, we supposedly reverted back to residential because that's a residential district. So my question is that how did it get reverted back to commercial without sending the legal notices to the community around it? I never got one registered letter stating that you were considering doing that to the AFC home. That, as Mr. Favor told the seller, after 1 year, it reverts automatically back to residential. So how did we now convert it to commercial again without any notifications to the people of this community? Second off, that same house now, apparently there's been more going on than we can understand because the courts don't see it that it was just going to be a halfway house for people that had already accomplished their rehabilitation. We are now sending them right from the court system into the house. So my question is, Mr. Lester and Mr. Day, you were instrumental when the people sold that because you attended a meeting with the seller and confirmed with her what would happen with this property. That's why Dory sold it. So my question is that are you going to be men and are you going to stand up and tell us what really occurs here and why it occurred here that we didn't have the legal standing to do what we were supposed to do? There's not one of us that would not have come to this committee or this town council and had a civil conversation with you. But if it's driving, the factor of driving is money. If that's what is driving this, what good is it? You've got all these people here that are concerned. Do you think this outpouring of people are here because they feel that we don't have a little bit of distrust that is starting because of what we're seeing in our community? I talked to Mr. Stone at his business one day. Said, guess what? When are they going to rezone that? Oh, I don't know. He's the head of zoning, I believe, right now. But the comment that come back to me was, well, they'll just push it through at the end. Huh, sounds like that's a common occurrence. So I guess those are the questions I would like to have answered is, where were my 3 legal letters by law stating that you were gonna rezone, and I had a right to speak to this council. I'll start with that, and we'll progress from there, so thank you very much.
You will be on the agenda next meeting. And thank you. Who wants to start? I'm assuming now we're talking about the incident that happened on South Elk, the thrift store.
I'm Wilma Henderson again. I'm getting pretty good at these meetings. I never was
I
a
know
speaker
you
before
are.
in my life. But a year ago, I was fighting for our Redskin name, as probably most of you know. I wanted our school to put a survey out or put it on the ballot and let the taxpayers decide. Okay? And that's how I got involved in seeing stuff that's going on in town, and I'm seeing this. People have come up to me and goes, Mom, have you seen this? Because I'm an outspoken person. I went a year ago to Brent and asked him about removing. There was a man going, and there is still today, with a fluffy tail and everything. This is a mental health. Our kids do not need to be seeing that. Okay? And now we got a crisis where these mental health and I don't even recognize, but I was born and raised here. My maiden name is Gerstenberger. I've been here forever. I don't even recognize my town. It looks like a zombie eclipse. We got so many mental health people walking the street, homeless people walking, and now we have the homeless guy that apparently tried to abduct this little girl. When are we going to do something? And maybe we need to come back with the county farms, where these people are out of town and they are observed and watched, and maybe put them on the picking up road stuff, and maybe it won't be so convenient and so fun to be taken care of 3 meals a day and don't have no taxes to pay if they have to do a hard day's work like we do, instead of us taxpayers paying for this. Something's it needs to be shut down. I was at the Board of Commissioners meeting today, and I was out on Main Street today picketing. Shut the homeless shelter down. It needs to be done. And I pray that you look in your souls and think, is this what you want your kids to grow up and what you want your town to be known for? Is it the zombie eclipse? Next time you might find a missing child. You know how much sex trafficking there's going on in the United States, don't you? You guys all see the Sound of Freedom movie? And the next biggest killer is the fentanyl coming in. And now I hear we got another house that we're going to be releasing prisoners from jail across from the sheriff's department on once they in the jail for drug charges. It's going to be a halfway for drugging people for that. So now we're going to have 2 shelters in town. So now we got all these people walking the street, and now our kids are going to be walking home from school, and we're going to be picking up fentanyl pills all across. This is on you guys if you don't close it down. The dead children we're going to be seeing in Sandusky. I'm back. Last time I spoke with you, Mr. Faber, I think I gave you a lot of homework to research. I hope you did it. Today I was approached by a gentleman who's here in this building and asked me how unchristian-like of me to not want to welcome and feed and clothe those that are hungry and so forth. Well, I don't like guilt trips, and I very seldomly get put on them, but to answer that question, I would like to know, why are all these homeless people out here behind Dairy Queen that got kicked out of the homeless shelter? Who's helping them? It is causing a problem in our community, these shelters, that if you pee dirty or you don't go to the Open Doors Church ministry, first of all, freedom of religion, people,
You can't force people to go to a certain church or a church at all. It's freedom of religion. Then they kick them out. And they're living back here behind Dairy Queen. So who's helping them? And is this helping our community? No, it isn't. Mr. Faber, I do believe that you sit on the Parks and Recs board. Is that correct? Okay, well, Mr. Lester sits on the Community Mental Health Board. Anybody seeing a bit of a conflict of interest here when you're opening up shelters? And then who in their right mind goes and puts a child's playground right next to a shelter, a rehab? Let me also remind you that in 2001, our governor, Gretchen Whitmer, she did away with, she did some changes with the Michigan sex offender registration. And she expunged sex offenders' records. So now you don't know if they're sex offenders, if they've had their if they've had an expungement and they've been removed from the registration, you would never know it. But what does concern me is that a gentleman by the name of Tom, what's his name?
Bowser.
Tom Bowser comes to town, and Chief Lester, you and the priest went and picked him up, if I have my facts straight here. You picked him up, you brought him back, you have all this technology at your fingertips, and you didn't know that he was a wanted criminal out of Oklahoma, which you broke the law, sir. You aided and abetted a felon. You do not have my vote for sheriff, and I surely hope you're not running next year, because this is all that this is a publicity stunt to, oh, look at how good I am, I want to be your sheriff. No way do I want you for my sheriff, and I tell you, I will work on that campaign to not allow that to happen. Also, city funds. What's up with city funds paying for a house over here that a woman was kicked out of because it was abandoned? But then the city people, you people that live in the city, you paid to have that house remodeled, and for 2 years you paid for the light bill and the water bill. I think Jason maybe was his name that lived there from the shelters. I'm going to leave it at that, as I got my own town hall meeting to get to. Corruption's just widespread.
Next, please.
Let them have it. Leaving people dry.
Hi, my name is Denise Jones. I have some concerns about putting people in these homes right out of prison or bringing people from other counties. I heard something about possibly other people from other counties getting put in this area in our county. Right now in Davison, they dropped off a busload of homeless people, and they call them homeless, desolate. They didn't speak English, and they were dropping them off at Myers in their parking lot by the busload. And I have 4 police officers in our family, and I asked one of them, and I said, do you see this? I asked the one that was a police officer in Bay City, I said, have you been seeing people coming in that didn't speak English? And he said, yeah, we just arrested one this past week that didn't speak English. And my main concern is how many people are going to be brought into this area and housed possibly in our area and put in these homes that are, and they're bringing the people up from the border and putting them all over the United States.
Yep.
And Davison is one of them. And then you can look up the city minutes in the Davison City Township minutes, I think it's under 15, where the people, they protested it, and now they're not doing it anymore in Davison. Last I knew, they were in Swartz Creek. But, and other people spoke out and said, yeah, I've seen them in my town, dropping people off by the bus poles. So I don't know if that's happening in this county, or if we're going to be bringing people in from other counties and bringing them into this county to house. And also, I'm concerned about the sign that says 15 minute, or it's not, they call it 15-minute cities. They were that rural, smart, what is it? Smart rural. how did that all come about? Because right now in other countries, and you can look up Davos, you can look up the World Economic Forum, they are trying to control people and put them in these 15-minute cities all over the world, all over the globally, and it's only a small group of elite people that are trying to control everyone. And all you have to, Whitmer actually went to Davos this past year, and who's this, I don't know what she's trying to do in our state, but it concerns me because it's a control thing, because they want to monitor everything that everybody wants to do with cameras. There's a lot going on. If you guys only took a half an hour and just looked up 15-minute cities, you could pull up a whole bunch of information on it. So we got to stop this now, because if we don't, our children are going to be in major trouble. I lived long enough. If something happens to me, I'm worried about these kids. I don't want them growing up in an area where they can't drive. Right now in London, I forgot my paper at home, but they are trying to limit 1,000 vehicles down to 190 vehicles. They're trying to stop people from driving their cars. They want to switch everybody to driving over these EVs, and they want to try to. Gates is buying up a whole bunch of farmland in Michigan right now, Bill Gates, and they're trying to control our food supply, our vehicles, what we drive. They're trying to enclose us in these little 15-minute cities and get us out of these rural areas. They want to bring us into more city-like environments, to where if you ever looked up the Georgia Guidestones, which somehow it got exploded in Georgia. If you look up Georgia Guidestones, that's their 10 Commandments. That's what they're trying to push on our country right now. So it's really scary. It's scary for our world. It's scary for our children. And everybody just needs to do a little research. Don't listen to me. I'm nobody. Just do your research and look up these 15-minute cities. That's the start of a 15-minute city. And what does these permits required mean? What does the sign when it says permits required? On these signs, there's two signs. There's one when you're coming right in the Sandusky and Watertown Township. It says permits required. Does anybody have an answer what permits required is? It's on the sign. You guys, somebody from the township must have put it there. So people in our county need to find out what these mean and what they're going to try to be doing to us in the future, near future. This isn't like, look what's happening in London, look what's happening globally. We're next in line. It's going on in Canada, it's going on in Toronto. They want to track and they want to videotape and they want to control what money we use, what cars we use. They want to, right now in London, they're paying people $2,000 to demolish their cars to get an EV. And so, because they don't want us to use gasoline cars.
They want you walking.
Yeah,
Why our bump outs are coming.
Exactly. There's a lot more to this that everybody needs to research, and we need to, if we don't stop it now, it's our kids that are going to suffer, and grandkids, and the future. There's not going to be a future.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Amanda Osborne. I was raised in this community. I can tell you my sister worked very closely with Brett, and I have a lot of respect for Brett. I do live, however, 2 blocks from the men's shelter, and I can tell you that I work as a social worker, and I help people find jobs every day. So that's a part of what I do. And my concern forward is just what safeguards can we put in place to make sure nothing like that happens again. Is there a better background check we can do? Is there a better references program we can have? I'm not saying that I love it here. I would love to see it outside of the city limits somewhere. I know Eva's is out in the country for a reason because of safety, but we do have a transport program. We do have a transportation in place. I would also like to see, we don't see enough of the guys in our office looking for employment. For whatever reason, there are barriers. I'm not completely saying that I agree with it being here, but if my child's 2 blocks from there, I want to know what my safeguards are. That's all I want.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure that if the 5013C is not good enough, can we work with our local state police? Can we work with our local sheriff department? What can we do as a community to make sure that the kids are safe? And I also know that you can never predict what another person's going to do. You can be living next to somebody right now that is abusing their family or their children or their family's extended family. You don't know. And I'm not accusing anybody either of that. So my thing is what can we do to be a better safeguard for our community?
Thank you. Yes. I'll make it short and sweet. Don Ferguson. I didn't see these blueprints for the MDOT, but looks to me like they, or by what I heard, they're going to narrow the roads up to no right turn lanes and nothing. Put these damn bump outs in the middle of the road, and I don't know, it's they're talking electric cars. They can't even keep their juice around the houses now. And as far as the second shelter by the sheriff's department, I don't know, it don't belong in the community. Out in the goddamn boondocks, it'll be fine. And they get out of control. I don't know, just nature will happen. That's about all I got to say. Everything's all about the dollar signs. You get the state aid, but you gotta bite the bullet and do it their way. It's totally going way out of control. That's about all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, James.
Well, I have the opportunity to usually minister to 10 of these guys on Sunday mornings. They're not forced to come to the Sandusky Baptist Church. I think they're told they need to go to church, so they're going to different places. I've got to know most of them by first name. I try to get over to the rescue mission there and do a devotional Monday nights. And usually I see the guy saying, "Hey, where are you working?" "Oh, I'm working at was it Emerson now? I'm working at Fiber Acoustics." So these guys are getting jobs in our community. The thing the Lord told me today is this: folks, we might want to shut down a rescue mission, but at least they have a curfew when you know they're there and they're not camping out behind your house someplace.
That's not the place in the
So at least we do know some. There's some guys that are there and they're not covered. So I am supportive of Chief Lester. I think he had a lot of guts to be able to do something that needed to be done. As the old statement is this, it's not, and here's what I hear all the time. Well, as soon as we opened this, they just came from everywhere. I think we had a few here already, folks, and we were trying to help them out. And I'm probably the guilty one here. I'm the one who dealt with Andrew Jewell, talked to him on Monday night, and this guy comes to my church, talks about knowing Christ, and he wants to be baptized, and I am baptizing. The next week he does this stupid thing. Now I am the first one on a Monday morning to go up to the jail, and one of the, reaching the forgotten chaplains up there. And I, what in the world, man, you certainly messed me up. Here you are telling me that you want to live for the Lord and everything else, and you do this. I'm still challenged as a pastor. And I realize I have people in my church who, have a business idea mentality, and some of them say, I think sometimes I'm led to the compassion part. 1 Corinthians tells me this: do not be deceived, the wicked will not inherit the kingdom of heaven. God's going to take care of that part. Do you not know that the drunkards, the wicked, this and that, the homosexual offenders, they will not inherit the kingdom of heaven? And the next verse is what I live for. And that's what some of you were. I like seeing the change in some of these guys' life. Do we have a 100% success rate? No. But there have been some success stories through the shelter over there, where guys are back to, a job again, and they're doing well. And, and I don't know all the ins and outs about Tom Bowser, but man, I know he gave his all to help these guys.
Why are they in the homeless shelters? They got jobs.
Well, they're working through to get, on their feet again.
How about they're working on Dairy Queen?
So, I don't know about that one. I don't know that one. So, okay, I'm done.
Thank you very much. Someone else would like to speak?
I'm a New Yorker. Start out with. Moved here in '75 and started teaching, and I taught for 31 years. And I've seen everything in all those 31 years, from kids who came out of our schools who have become millionaires. And I've seen kids come out of our school who become killers. So should we get rid of the Sandusky schools? Probably not. Because of one person who stepped over the line too far. And it's the same way with the homeless shelter. We need to provide places for men and women, as out in Eva's place, for these people to go and stay and have some rules put on. Because they were here before the shelter was opened. There were people walking the streets, not going anywhere. Mr. Lester and the present person that was in charge both tried to run a ship straight and narrow. And it's a shame something terrible happened. I'm not going to deny that. But we surely have to look at ourselves and see what things we've gone through as people, as students in this community, as teachers in this community, as workers in this community. There are people who come in and out of this community all the time, and we don't have control over it. We try to control a few through the shelter, through Eva's place, and I think we've done a fairly good job. I'm not sure how many years the shelter's been open here in town, but this is the only real major incident we've had. And it was controlled immediately. From what I understand, the man went directly to jail. The child was grabbed by her arm. From what I understand, I wasn't there. That was a shock to that young child. I worked with young children for most of my career. I would hate to see a young child hurt in any way. But I'm going to tell you, the overall work of Lester, Mr. Bowser, was exceptional for the kids, or the adults they put through that place. And there are a lot of good endings to what happened there. This was a bad one. This wasn't good. But I'm not sure it's ready to throw out the soup just because one potato was rotten. And I just hate to see us just turn our backs on anybody who's not able to take care of themselves in this community.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Can I speak again? I didn't use up my 5 minutes. There's a State Farm over in Carroll that houses got it for sale for it's got enough room for 250 people. Why aren't we putting these people over there? Because you guys know all these immigrants coming across there. I live on 19. I don't know how many buses this summer I've seen, like they've seen in New York, dropping off these immigrants. That's what's going to be coming in town. We do not know where these people are come from. They are terrorists and everything else, and we're going to house them here in Sandusky. And I've been a teacher too my whole life. It's not the same what it was when you taught, Rudy. This is a different world we're in now, and we need to protect ourselves.
I just had a granddaughter.
Thank you.
Speaking to me, I just had a granddaughter graduate.
So that I just have a
So I have no problem with it.
I know,
Someone else
it's a
like to
different
speak.
world today.
I would.
Thank you.
So my name is Michelle, and I actually am employed with the new recovery agency that is coming into our town. And I'd love to clear up some of the misconceptions and the rumors going on. First and foremost, nobody that gets housed there comes straight from jail. Every person that is referred through the appropriate channels has to go through a whole slew of recovery process. So they have to be in recovery for 90 days. Once they are in the home, they are supervised, they are monitored, they receive group treatments, they work on their recovery. If a relapse occurs, then they will be taken back out of that home where they would be put back into a rehab facility. Unfortunately, I've been in mental health, I've been in addiction services pretty much the last 25, 30 years, and whether we have a shelter in place, a recovery house in place, you know what, these people are in our community, and everybody deserves that opportunity to receive fair treatment at least once in their life.
In the country, out of town.
They're in your town. They're always going to be in your town.
No, they're not.
Why wouldn't they be? They're your neighbors.
Because they're going to be in the
They're
not
your
my
family
neighbors.
members. They are
They're
everywhere.
not my neighbors.
I beg to differ, and so does the jail system.
Then you got
Nobody
blinders.
comes
Okay,
from
okay.
the jail system straight into the homes. You know, the shelter has done wonderful things for certain individuals. They've also, it's what happened. Unfortunately, it happened, and it's no fault to the shelter. It's a fault to the individual that committed that crime. He is the one that will have to pay for that crime, not the other individuals that are living there, that are working, that are trying to better themselves. It is strictly that on that individual that committed that crime. He is the one that is sitting in jail. He is the one that has to go through the whole court system, and he's the one that needs to be punished, not the rest of the individuals that are in there that have not committed that crime. So if anybody is further interested in the recovery center, I would love to give you guys the proper information that it is. I would gladly sit down and talk with anybody and go over what the whole plan is, because it's not the misconceptions that you guys are thinking.
Thank you.
Rebuttal. Young lady, I disagree with you because my wife has the privilege of working at the courthouse. And when the courts order somebody right from the courts
To go to
and
rehab.
and go to rehab, my problem is, what is the 90-day program? Who's running the 90-day program?
Okay, so when somebody's court
And
ordered to
then-
go to a rehabilitation place, that is not in our area.
Well,
that is Sacred Heart, that's
the
Meridian.
young man that
That's in the Odyssey.
assaulted the young child,
Uh-huh.
how did that become a situation that recovery center should have even been mentioned in there?
It wasn't.
It was. I can tell you what. You can go get the court records. You can get the things on there. Last Friday, 2 drug addicts were once again added to that list. Why are we using the name of that facility in our court cases right now in Sandusky County?
What facility?
Great Lakes. How is their mission over here?
Okay,
So I can
Great
assure
Lakes
you.
Recovery Mission is not the rescue mission. Them are two
Well, I know,
different places.
but the thing is that guess what?
Mr.
We
Could we
Excuse
have
me.
her, invite her to
I
the
agree.
next
We
meeting?
have to have a major
I-
conversation in this community,
Yeah.
and it's time to bring it to the table.
Well, this is,
So I think you all need to invite multiple people. I think you as this board better turn around and invite multiple people for this.
Comments going instead of having the.
Because I'm gonna assure you that I am concerned about the start to finish of this whole
This
process.
complaint's gonna be on the agenda.
Okay.
That'd be great. Anyone else?
So Thomas Bowser is still ripping off this woman that he's living with. I guess they're married now, but he's already convinced her to sell her home for the sake of lawyer bills, I'm told. It's really kind of remarkable. We all just have to sit here and watch him do this to this woman in slow motion. I think it's pathetic. A lot of this is pathetic. Everybody's right. These things don't work in cities. These people come out of prisons. There's more drugs in prisons than there are on the street. They're addicted. I've seen video of mothers sending me all kinds of video of these guys stumbling around town, completely out of their gourd. I mean, this isn't how it works. You put them out in the country. You don't allow them to just walk around and, walk into town and buy drugs, score whatever. It's just common sense. And I think that there was such a desire to make a name for somebody here, make a name for yourselves, that no consideration was really given to the safety of the community. I think that's very obvious. At this point, I've got text messages from Jason Hofstadler to Mr. Dave Lawson stating that Tom Bowser was known to be wanted by the Oklahoma police for $24,000, which he took from a company that he told he was going to be allowed to, he was going to be working there, and then he defrauded them of that, came up here, and you guys gave him a job. And everybody on that board gave him that job. Nobody, don't buy it for 1 second that everybody didn't know that this man was a wanted fugitive. I don't buy it. It's ridiculous. So, yeah, I don't know. At this point, I've got people telling me that, and it makes a lot of sense, obviously, if someone is so retarded that they just see a 8-year-old girl and can't think 10 seconds ahead of what's going to happen if they grab this little girl, they're obviously retarded. This is a mental health system failure. But this kid had, according to what I'm being told, had a disability check attached to him, and Tom Bowser wanted that disability. So this is where we're at. This is the kind of stuff you brought into the community. It's disgraceful. It's just absolutely disgraceful. I don't know where to go with it. I hope that this doesn't become a model and they try putting this stuff in Deckerville or any of the surrounding communities. You should phase this out as soon as you possibly can. It's ridiculous. And I also think it's ridiculous that people continue to pay money to organizations like the Sanilac County News, who literally hate everything we stand for. I mean, we've got these stories coming out, and Casey Johnson can't even bother to put in there a full disclosure. I'm sleeping with Brett Lester's friend, Fred Emile. Can't bother to do that. Like, it's just unbelievable. All the way around, how everything works to shake each other's hand in this community. And I sure am going to find out how long Jeff Kramer was staying in that house over there. And I'm sure going to find out what the utility bills were for that building. I'm going to find out exactly what the rented out value would be. And I think everybody should know that. I think that the fact that things are done like that here, it's just pathetic. It's just pathetic.
Thank you, Brad.
Anyone else?
I get a little nervous coming up here because I have post-traumatic stress. But my family, and it is the Kozlowski family and the Euxter family, they are drug dealers up here. I have lost my home in Huron County. I'm not allowed to see any of my grandchildren. And when I hear about things like this young man, 19-year-old, who did this to this little girl, I feel that it's probably because he's addicted to ecstasy, which is a drug that my family has spread for years. And they were part of what happened at our airport here back in 2009. And I have been begging. Our last sheriff, Sheriff Benecki, is a part of that drug ring. He's a part of it. And I wanted our new sheriff, Paul Rich, in, and you know, when he was running, because he promised that he was going to undo these drugs up here. And he won't even investigate my family. I have a grandchild that was human trafficked, a great-grandchild, that's being raised by 2 drug-addicted women in Louisville, Kentucky. What else can I say? I really appreciate Brett Lester because he's helped me kind of get to the bottom of things with FOIAs and things like that, and he's willing to help me. That's all I can say.
Thank you. Thank you, Dad.
My name is Phyllis Story, and I'm new to the area, and Brett interviewed me, and since he had, I've been getting text messages. One was men that are leaving the shelter are being put back on the rolls by Tom, so federal funds can come in. They told me to look at the rent, what's being done with that above the shelter itself, and how
The thrift store.
the thrift store, not the shelter. How pockets are being padded by Tom. I don't know if they didn't accuse anybody else of being privy of it. From what I know of Tom, he's capable, he could do that and nobody would know about it. He's in the perfect position to get away with it. That's all I want to say is that there's things going on over there and people are afraid to talk about it. But the text messages that I have received. And disability checks, yes, that's another text message I got that somebody comes in there and is receiving any kind of disability, Tom likes to hook it. I don't know how he gets it, or where he's putting it, but he's taking it. And that's what that man that grabbed that little girl, they said Tom wanted his disability check. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jim Kitchen. The little girl that got grabbed and pulled into the bathroom was my daughter. I'm just curious how it works. Like, how many homeless people are really in Sandusky that aren't being brought in here? Is there a lot? Is there any?
Yeah. Sound like county number?
No. Sandusky, Michigan.
We have all records.
Yeah. Okay. Who does the background checks? Manager. 3 or 4 times felon. That guy does the background checks, or this manager? Which manager? Who's the manager? Who does the background checks? If I can Google it and figure out what these people are doing, why can't you?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know. And the churches are so excited about these people. Bring them to church. Keep them at your church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't keep them next to the high school. What are you doing? It's ridiculous. That's all.
I'd like to add one more thing. I watched the movie, it's a live video of the church, and I saw Brett and Pastor and Tom up there. And Tom said that he would told the congregation, and he was crying, that he was arrested for a misdemeanor swindling charge. And what had happened was he got a job there, and he knew it wasn't going to work out, so he left. And the people in this small town that have big money, they got bent out of shape, and he said, I won't go into it, but you know the story, and it was deferred, and if I'm on probation for 3 years, and I'm going to be exonerated if I keep myself clean. I'm watching this. It was a felony embezzlement, 7-year deferment. He went in for an interview. The interviewer, I spoke to the man myself, the man in Oklahoma that interviewed him, said he came in here, sat down, and a few minutes into the interview started falling apart, just crying and sobbing, and he said, "What's the matter? What's the matter?" He said, "I've just been in a terrible, terrible car accident. My infant daughter died in my arms, and my mother died, and I need this job." And the man said, "You've got the job. You had the job before you walked in here. I looked at your resume. You are qualified. We're going to give you a $10,000 check for moving expenses, and we are also going to front you a couple weeks' pay." Now, this is not hearsay. I talked to the man, and there's also a letter that proves this, that the man wrote and sent to Tom that he ignored. So Tom works 3 days, and the man said he gets a phone call from somebody who he said, "I know it was Tom," trying to disguise his voice, saying he was Tom's brother, and that Tom had been committed to a mental facility. He had a nervous breakdown because of the deaths in his family and wouldn't be able to come back to work. Well, the man said he got to digging and he found Tom's mother and called her. She said, "He ain't dead, and his daughter ain't dead. I don't even talk to him no more. He's a crook, and he always has been." And he got up in front of the congregation, these people that love him. I don't care if you know anything else about him. He got up there crying and sobbing and grabbing Kleenex and telling this. He told an out and out lie to the people that were supporting him and loving him. And the pastor and Brett, I don't know if they knew he was lying. I'm not going to say they knew he was lying, but they were sitting right next to him. And the community has put him in a position where he's taken money, pictures of him with big checks from all these companies in town. And the man ain't changed. He told me he had a 401k, was paying cash for a $300,000 house and a $25,000 truck, and character. That's all. If the town wants a shelter and wants to help people, get somebody honest in there, somebody that's capable of doing what they're supposed to do. That's nothing but an opportunity for a con man. Thank you.
Anyone else? Please, now's the time. Let's get through this agenda. Okay. Okay.
I guess in regards to the Brett Lester thing, my office is downtown and I have like my front window view of what goes on in this town. I will say that there's always been a homeless problem. We've had a lot of them always walking the streets. And my personal observation only, and it's only my opinion, is we have less of a problem now with the shelter. And I've also seen Lester and a lot of the other officers, firsthand handling things that go on out on our main street. And I have to say, they're very compassionate and they can be very tough at times if the situation needs to be. And I think they've done a great job in our community. That's just my personal opinion. I just want to say that.
Thanks for tuning in again, and I will continue to follow these stories as they develop. Till next time, go with God and walk in the light of truth. Thank you.